For those that don't know me, my name is T. McClenty. I'm the Vice Chair of SD52, and welcome to our coffee conversation. Richard, thank you for being our guest this morning for our coffee conversation, and we would just go ahead and kick it off with you, and go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us anything you want us to know about you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Richard Carlbom, and I am the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Was elected last March, and excited to be in this position. I have to tell you that after about 130 days now, this job, when I took it, was deeply meaningful and important to me. It had a lot of purpose. Clearly, it's a party that I've invested a lot of time and energy in over the course of both my personal and professional life over the last several decades. And to be elected chair to lead this party for the state of Minnesota was a great honor. And then obviously June 14th happened when Melissa and Mark Ortman were assassinated, and Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were shot. And it obviously changed our state. It changed politics forever. And it certainly changed, I think, the purpose and meaningfulness of this job. And so it went from being a job that I was greatly honored to be asked to serve. And now it is, I think, the most important job I have. And so what I'm focused on from a state perspective at the state party is making sure that we build the largest and robust effort possible to deliver the largest electoral defeat of a sitting president in the history of Minnesota midterms in November of 2026. I'm focused like a laser on delivering that, now less than 16 months from now. And that's why I am doing everything I can to invite people into this coalition and to figure out ways in which we can partner and collaborate to build that winning coalition that ultimately delivers a resounding defeat of Donald Trump, elects Democrats up and down the ballot, and ensures that Minnesota remain a blue state into the future so that we can continue to make critical investments on behalf of working families. There are 4 priorities at the state party that we call our Path to Victory 2026. I'd love to share them with you real briefly. First and foremost, we need to listen to voters. We need to stop telling voters what to think, and instead we need to listen. We need to learn from voters, and only after we learn their perspective and understand their priorities can we ultimately lead. Listen, learn, lead is something that our state party has adopted, but it comes directly from Ron Goldser from Senate District 52. He and I met, and he encouraged me afterwards to think about listen, learn, lead, and we've done so. We've adopted it, and we proudly make it our highest and first priority when it comes to connecting with voters. Second, I think
you can hear me now. Can you guys hear me?
Ron,
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Ron.
Yay!
He's just introducing himself and talking about the key priorities, Ron.
I got that. Somehow, Richard, you must have seen my question list, because those are my first 2 questions for you.
Well, I did not see it, but I just asked the question, Ron, as your co-host.
And T, I was about to send it to you, and when, bless her heart, my wife figured out my technical problems.
Okay,
and
thank you.
There's Ellen now. Yeah.
All right, so Richard, can you continue? I think you was going into number 2.
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, listen. Number 2, we have to make sure that we invest early, build out our operations. And so instead of waiting until 2026 to hire organizers, we put boots on the ground on June 16th. We have 10 organizers deployed throughout the state, and we are investing in that organizing operation early so that we are a party that shows up in the odd year, and we make sure that no community can claim that Democrats only show up weeks before an election. We are instead investing in that now. So first of all, listen. Second of all, organize, invest, and build. Third, we are the party of working families. We need to brand ourselves as such. We, our senator here in 52, Senator Carlson, and our 2 representatives, Representative Ryer and Verding, who I think are on the call, did amazing work in 2023 when it comes to investing in working families. Generational investments that are targeted to make sure that middle-class working families find life a bit more affordable. These things include things like the largest child tax credit in the country, universal school meals. I think the largest investment in 2023 was $3.5 billion into the rainy day fund, because that rainy day is coming because of Donald Trump, and because that money's in the bank today, that stabilizes the budget so that the pressure doesn't hit middle-class families as hard into the future. And so we have to reclaim that mantle, and we have to make sure voters understand that we are the party of working families. And then the fourth priority, as you all know, we are going to spend as much energy and time as we need to make sure voters understand who is responsible for the chaos and confusion that they're feeling every day in their lives, and that is Donald Trump and Republicans in the state legislature and Republican members of Congress who voted for the big, bad, ugly bill. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that voters understand who's responsible so that ultimately voters can hold them accountable in November of 2026. So with those four priorities, we are aiming to unite our broad and diverse coalition. We don't all agree on everything, I know that, but our different points of view are actually a strength for us. If you want a top-down authoritarian party, you go join the Republican Party. That's them. We are a party that is a coalition by definition, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, and we make up all sorts of Minnesota perspectives. And ultimately, we need to make sure that we work together, collaborate, and deliver the largest electoral defeat of a sitting president in Minnesota midterms history. So glad to be here and ready to dive in.
So here we go. What you describe, Richard, is wonderful and leads to the biggest problem I perceive the Democratic Party has right now, and that is a lack of leadership. People are looking for that one magic person, and it's what makes the Republican Party successful, unfortunately. They have the guy who tells them when the sun comes up and what to have for dinner. And what's wrong with the other party. We don't have that person. I understand why we don't have that person, but we don't, and I think Democrats are looking for it. If you look at surveys, I pulled a few, you see words like weak and ineffective, and U.S. adults have a dim view of both parties. The Democrats are spineless, they're scattershot. There are more words like that. That's a big burden and battle to overcome. I'm sure you're aware of it. I see your wry grin on your face. Speak to that.
Absolutely. I think one of the challenges we have as a party is that we aren't a top-down authoritarian party, but I think that's actually our greatest strength. And so I don't want to figure out how to, line everyone up behind one singular voice. I want to make sure that we as a party are elevating certain voices that can speak directly to the voters that we need to connect with. And so so we're doing a couple of things at the state party, I think, that address this issue head on, Ron. First and foremost, we launched a daily call. And every day at 10:45, I host, or our team now hosts, a daily call to make sure that Democrats, wherever you are in Minnesota or across the country, frankly, that you have the message, the action, and the tool to be empowered that day. And we are doing a better and better job.
Stop here. Let's talk about that particular function. I've been on that a few times. My takeaway from it has been some Facebook postings that you make available. I've posted them a few times. I know there are a few others on this call who've done the same thing. They don't get traction from what I see. How broad is the reach of the daily call? Do you think it's being successful? And if it's not, what can you do to make that one better?
Great questions. So first and foremost, our reach on average each day is between 105 to 145 folks from around the state, and some from outside of the state. In addition to that, Ron, we are increasingly gaining content creators as well through our networking work that we've been doing. So we are purposely building relationships with various content creators throughout the state to ensure that they're also tuning into that daily call, and they're getting inside access to the DFL. For example, at the state fair this year, which is a big opportunity for the DFL every year, we're going to have a variety of content creators. They total probably about 15 million followers on their various channels. They're going to be coming to the state fair and joining us, spending time with our elected officials and making sure that they have an inside seat to what it's like to campaign at the state fair. And so there are different ways in which we're leveraging that daily call to ensure that it's successful. And we have seen great opportunities come to fruition, both through the building of our network with the content creators, but also when we have special guests on, that's really when we get the most traction. People find those special guests informative. Just this last week, we had a school teacher from the St. Paul Public School District, a science teacher, on to talk about how much inflation has hit school budgets and school supply budgets. and it was one of our most watched episodes. On Friday, we had the chair of the Texas Democratic Party on to make sure everybody was informed about what's happening in Texas and why it's so important for Minnesotans to stand up to what Texas is attempting to do, the Texas governor is attempting to do when it comes to redrawing the map here halfway through the decade. And so I think those are opportunities for us all to be on the same page, Ron. And it's so important to me that everybody understands, like, there's so many headlines that we all can get worked up about each and every day. And that call is meant to make sure that it focuses everyone's attention on the one thing that we think is going to move the needle with voters. And I'm not talking about, our base Democrats. I'm talking about the independent voters, the people who peeled away from the Democratic Party over the last few cycles. How are we making sure that we are communicating specifically about issues that are going to connect with them? And then by bringing in these special guests, Ron, we actually elevate voices that connect with people. So when we have a farmer on who's, 35 years old and farms in Pine County, Minnesota, that's very intentional. That's a voice that we need to make sure that we're putting out there. In addition to that, we put it on YouTube, and then we also push it out through various channels throughout the week to make sure that the content continues to be spread further. And of course, as I've said from the beginning, this daily call started, I think, on my 4th day on the job, and we have aimed to improve it every chance we get. So if folks have thoughts on how we can make it more effective, I am all ears, and your feedback is greatly appreciated.
I interrupted you. I think you were talking about things that you are doing to get the message out and to respond to all of those comments that I'm seeing in polls and newspaper articles.
Well, the last thing I would say is it's so important that I'm going to go back to what I just ended with, which is, as a party, we shouldn't look for a singular voice that's going to represent our agenda. We need to make sure that we're identifying and elevating various voices from within our coalition who are going to connect with the voters we need to connect with right in this moment on the issues that matter deeply to them. And so that means making sure that we're elevating teachers to talk about the impact that inflation is having on education. That means that we're elevating farmers to make sure farmers can talk to folks about what it's like to be caught in the middle of a trade war that this president has launched on agriculture and the agriculture economy in this country. It is so important for us to make sure that we're elevating people who are going to be impacted by SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts, to make sure that they, in their own words and real terms, can really convey the damage that those votes are going to have on their lives. And so those ways in which our party has shifted since I've become chair, to really make sure that we're putting real stories with the impact of these disastrous pieces of legislation that President Trump has been pushing, with help from 4 members of Congress in Minnesota, that ultimately leaves a really devastating impact on the lives of Minnesotans.
So let me turn the rubric to 90
Ron,
degrees.
Before we go on, there was a question about this. Ron,
okay.
There was a question in the chat about that. Richard, they asked, how can they join that call, and what is the phone number?
Great. It's actually it's a Zoom call that you can join, and I'm going to put the address in the chat right now. It's dfl.org/daily CTA, meaning daily call to action. So again, you can join, anyone can join. And if you can't join at 10:45 for the live version, every day after 2 p.m. we put it up online, and we have various actions. As Ron mentioned, sometimes we have social media posts we want you to put out there. And at other times we have actions like contacting your legislator and things like that. So the action usually changes day by day because we need to be nimble like that. And then we celebrate the great community and success that we're having around the state. I've been around the state going to parades and county fairs over the summer, and I have to tell you, I've been really, really energized and excited about the reaction and response we've been getting. I walked in the Forest Lake Parade on 4th of July, and I walked in that parade before, and I've been called and shouted at in various capacities. And this year I walked in that parade, and one person shouted a negative thing at me, and their spouse smacked them on the arm right away. And everyone else was standing up and cheering for us. In fact, the local Democratic Party in Forest Lake said that we had the biggest contingent they've ever had this year walking with them. And ultimately, Representative Josiah Hill was there as well. And he was so heartened to see people coming from all over the North Metro to walk with him on 4th of July. And that kind of response we've been getting all over the state gives me a great hope that we can actually unite this party, bring this coalition together, and leverage that energy to win back as many votes as we can to win it big in November of 26.
I noticed that John Haynes has his hand raised. John, and by the way, thank you for everyone. Oh, wait a minute. John left the meeting. Oh, that's too bad. Okay. If you can, everybody, if you can figure this out, because I can't figure out this function, raise your hands if you want to raise a question. Oh, and John is back. John, if you can hear me, I saw that you had your hand raised a little bit ago. Are you there? All right, we'll come back to you. Richard, what I was going to say was this. If you listen. Oh, there you are, John. Okay, you had a question.
Yeah, we're having some inclement weather here in the southeast quarter of the state. To address that, focus on what we're doing to build the party back up. One of my concerns is, what do we have in the pipeline for future leaders? Let's learn from history here and not let this happen again. So are we helping 30-somethings run for city offices, county offices, and starting up the ladder to the national level? And what percent focus are you putting on that?
That's a great question, John. I appreciate it. So first and foremost, the DFL engages in races at every level of the ballot in various ways, and we have infrastructure in place to do so. So a couple of things that I can cover high level, and happy to go into more in depth if you'd like. First and foremost, something that probably nobody really understands that we do is we have a model within our voter file, the Voter Activation Network, where we actually work collaboratively with Democratic aligned groups at the school board, city council, municipal, and county level to make sure that we are modeling who is serving in public office today and whether or not they're likely to be a Democrat or a Republican. And that actually gives us an ability to proactively develop relationships with people who we believe are likely to be sympathetic Democrats or sympathetic to the Democratic Party. So as we build those relationships proactively, we start to understand whether or not there are going to be folks who are interested in running for higher office one day. Second, we do spend time investing in things like the Minnesota Young DFL and the Minnesota High School DFL. In fact, both of those organizations just went through a lot of leadership changes, and you may be seeing a lot of energy right now from those two groups. I'm very excited about the leadership for both of those organizations. They're deeply engaged, they're very passionate, and they understand that they are the future of our party, and they need to and they're showing up now in order to make sure that they're helping us build the party into the future. So those are a couple of things that I would just highlight in terms of how we are constantly thinking about a pipeline for future leadership.
I noticed that Bianca had a comment in the chat. I don't know if you want to address that, Bianca. Are you still there? Okay. We'll go back to.
Sorry.
There you are.
We're on vacation and visiting my sister, so it was a little hard to manipulate the mute button. Yeah, so I'm on the Recruitment and Rural Outreach Committee, and Richard is joining me at the Morrison County DFL picnic, which sounds like we haven't had DFL people there in quite a long time. So it's the reddest county in the state. It's where my husband's from. It'll be in Little Falls. It's going to be a great time. And then I just wanted to point out Kyle Chen, as Richard mentioned, the Minnesota High School DFL. Kyle Chen, a 52B member, is the, I think, like the vice chair of that committee. So, and then the chair, I think, goes to Eastview, actually, I believe. So a lot of good representation from CD2 on that organization.
All right. And Gary Hansen, did you want to amplify your comment that you just put in the chat?
Yeah, just a comment. I want to remind people that Democratic Municipal Officials is very actively identifying and training candidates for future office opportunities. Richard, I know you're very well aware of that. and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great
Say,
organization.
I'm sorry?
I was going to ask Gary, where is that posted that people can see that?
Well, I mean, you can go to the Democratic Municipal Officials website, and there are a lot of resources that are available there. We make resources available to potential candidates. We're actually doing training in conjunction with the DNC, and we recently had a webinar that was attended by well over 200 individuals that was put on by the DNC, and so we're benefiting from their training resources.
Thank you.
What I was going to ask you to focus on, Richard, for a second, if you can think back about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you were talking about various groups, kind of demographic groups, political subgroups, and there was a constant theme in what you said as you described each of them, and they were all, and there was economic. I'm coming to the belief that it's not a leader that we need. It's a unified message that we need that comes from every voice and every mouth and every candidate, whether you're a progressive or a moderate. And it goes back to James Carville back in the 80s when he coined the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid." And when that was used, it was casting aspersions by the Democrats towards the Republicans, saying, Republicans, you don't get it. I now think that the Democrats don't get it. That every demographic group, be it teachers, be it veterans, be it LGBTQ, be it farmers, be it labor, they all need to hear from the Democratic Party, it's the economy. And that's the issue, because every sub-issue that you can think of can focus on the economy. What say you?
Yeah, and that's why the third priority that we have in our path to victory is focused on building a brand around the Democratic Party being the party of working families. It is so important that we make sure that we do two things. One, we need to remind voters that we're the party that created Medicare and Social Security, the two greatest safety nets in the history of our country, that lifted seniors out of poverty and saved lives. And we're the party that continues to defend those decade after decade from Republican attacks. And then second, it's what I said earlier. The two representatives and senator from SD52 delivered huge generational investments in 2023 when it comes to making sure life is more affordable for working families. And those are things that we should be damn proud of. And as a party, we need every single candidate, every single elected official talking about those issues that actually deliver for working families, to ensure that we're making life more affordable for those working families. That's all we should be talking about between now and November of 2026. And I'll just say this, that every one of those investments was targeted for defunding by Republicans in the legislature in 2024 and 2025. And thankfully, because of the House and Senate and the governor, we blocked those efforts. We maintained universal school meals. We maintained the child tax credit despite Republican efforts to defund them. And we will continue to fight like hell to make sure that those targeted investments for working families will remain.
Natasha, I see your hand up, but 1 second, I just want a quick follow-up. Richard, seems to me that the Republican Party has co-opted the working class vote by focusing on all of those things that you just described. How did they do that, and how do we get it back?
Yeah, well, clearly, Donald Trump has somehow convinced working families in 2020, in the 2024 election, that he was the one looking and understanding their plight. That's just not true. We have the evidence, we have the proof, we have the receipts that we are the ones who actually invested in that we invest in working families, and we need to just make sure people know that. I think in 2024, the Democratic Party message was dispersed among a lot of different sub-issue groups, and we're trying to be all things to all people. And in doing so, we lost sight on the one core message that would unify all those disparate factions within our party and within our coalition and within the electorate, which is that we are the party that invests in working families, and we need to continue to tout that, because ultimately, if you listen to a voter, and we're already door knocking, we're doing issue door knocks in several districts every single week. And when we go to the door, voters that we talk to, no data folks in the van, Democrats who might have left us over the last few cycles, every single one of them talks about economic issues that they care about. They talk about housing affordability. They talk about putting food on the table. They talk about whether or not their job is secure into the future. Those are things that we as a party can talk with a great deal of credibility about, and we need to continue doing so.
Natasha, you have your hand up. You're still on mute.
Thank you. So I just want to preface my statement by saying I've been a dedicated public service my entire life. I'm in my 50s. I've taught high school for 28 years. I taught at Park Center High School for 17 of those years, and I've been a progressive Democrat forever. It's so hard for me to engage right now. I agree with you 100% that the primary thing that or the foremost of voters' minds are economic issues. I won't get into my particular platform that I'm fighting for too much, but basically private equity is taking over affordable housing industries and driving up. We pay for the dirt that our houses are on. We own our homes. So much that in my park alone, my rent has gone up 58%. We can't sell our homes because the investment firms are making it impossible. We can't move our homes. They're too old to move if they're more than a couple of years old. So we're stuck paying this rent. Most of the people, my neighbors, are immigrants and elderly people. My mother-in-law, her husband died in December. And they tried to get her lot rent. They tried to get her to sign a new lease, which would have almost entirely doubled her lot rent and taken every single penny of her newly lowered Social Security. So I'm fighting for these people. I'm sorry. And we're trying to get bills passed, but I've learned recently that there are certain Democratic committee members who will not put these progressive bills in front of their committee. And I'm telling you, we can get them passed because they're so compelling. And there are so many manufactured home parks that are in Republican districts that the Republicans in the committees that have passed them have abstained from voting. And so we get the votes. All we need is the committee chairs to put the bills forward. And Senator Latz from District 46 is one of those people. I don't know if he's divested entirely, but his wife owns tons and tons of real estate. And that's what I've been told is that the reason he will not put any bills, anything related to affordable housing through his committee. And so I'm just so upset that, when we talk about leadership, we don't want a top-down heavy-handed approach. But this is the moment in time when we have to push the people in our own party. We have to tell them you cannot block these votes anymore. We can get them through the committees. We just need you to stop being this impediment. And honestly, I will try to get whoever the primary challenger is for Mr. Latz to be the nominee in this next cycle, because I'm so gobsmacked that we have purple and red Democrats that are doing this to us. And we can't. The issues are too urgent. Over almost 30 homes in my park alone in the last 4 years of private equity ownership have been lost. And because they're classified by an outdated, antiquated law that says that they're personal property, not private property, the equity owners go to the judges and they say, hey, this house has been abandoned and we're gonna go ahead and get rid of their possession, and then they own these houses. The people
Natasha, let's hear from Richard.
Yeah.
Natasha, thank you so much. And it obviously is something that is very, very important for us to pay attention to. And it's a core issue when it comes to affordability. So I appreciate you raising that. And I'm aware of the concern around private equity buying up affordable housing and then driving the costs up. So I do track the issue. I appreciate you raising it here. I put my my email in the chat. I'd love to connect with you more about this outside of this call and understand exactly what the impediments are. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it.
Dennis, you have your hand up.
Yeah, one of the concerns I have is that as we go through this, we seem to be caught in a cycle of an us versus them idea that, you know, against the two sides, and the people who are independent aren't necessarily concerned about that, and it winds up being the tone that would, I think, be more helpful for us looking at it as us with them, in the sense, okay, the Republicans are doing this, we think that's wrong, here's our proposed solution of, you know, what maybe should be done, and then you have something in which you can talk about that from that perspective. But I don't know that independent voters are going to much care about, you know, which side wins. They're not looking for the Democrat or the Republican. They're looking probably for the things that are going to best provide for the American people or Minnesotans, or the, you know, even within their own issues, for the things they have. I mean, much of what you have is for the people in the cities, and those out in the rural areas, you know, between city living or out in, you know, doing farming or whatnot, have much different perspectives about, you know, their priorities. So can you speak to that a little bit, about the tone that is used for discussing these things, and get away from an us versus them and try and work more towards an us with them?
That's a great point, Dennis, and I couldn't agree with you more. What I would say to you is that when it comes to how we talk about our brand as a party, it can't just be we're against Donald Trump and we're against Republicans, and so therefore you should choose us. It actually has to do exactly what you are outlining, which is we have to make it clear to folks that we're ready to work with them. The Democratic Party is not the savior. We're not going to save anybody from Donald Trump, right? The amount of chaos and I think pain being inflicted by this president is quite substantial. And I don't think Democrats should promise that we're the savior. But what we should do is we should promise that we are ready to roll up our sleeves and work like hell to do everything we can to protect them, work with them to protect working families from the chaos and hurt coming out of this Republican administration, and efforts, I think, at the state legislative level of Republicans to roll back the investments that we've made, targeted investments we made in working families. And I think when we make the case that we're ready to work with folks to make sure that they're more successful, that their lives are more affordable, that's when we're going to begin to gain back voters in all parts of the state.
Senator Carlson, you're next in line.
Well, thank you. I have a couple of questions. Well, let's say 3 issues that I want to bring up here. The first one is that we do have a lot of the solutions. We do have a really good reputation, but from my Senate office, I don't think enough people know about it. And I get, like, you know, somewhere between, it depends on the day of the week and what's happening in the news. I get between 50 and up to maybe 200 emails a day. And of those, about, it depends again on the day, about 50% could be negative. They could be attacking me. They're not attacking me, they're attacking the Democrats. And primarily it's because they don't know what's going on politically. And what I've done is I've tried to respond to as many of these people as I can. And, you know, and I think I've turned over some people because they didn't know what was going on. You know, I could give you lots of stories about it, but the issue with that is that why, with 100 people sitting up in the Capitol and getting these emails, and we get them from all over the state and sometimes all over the country, why I can't put anything in the van that characterizes these people. I am completely locked out of that. We have people that are no data, that send me emails, and they're just missing the boat. And when I can't put anything in there, they don't get classified correctly, and they're missing the news that we could be sending out to them. They're missing in a district. They're missing what's happening in that district. I find that to be very frustrating, that I, as the person that is the person that can do something about what they are complaining about, I can't put anything back into their record so that we can classify them on what their issue is. So and I don't need an answer right now, but that is one of the biggest issues that I have with our van, because I use that every day. I use it every day. And the second thing is that getting people registered. Now, I've been in the Senate now for, I'm going into my 18th year, and I lost in 2010 by 1,000 votes. I should say that I won in 2006 by a little over 1,000 votes against an incumbent. I lost by from a challenger in 2010, and I came back and beat him he was an incumbent, and I beat him again. And now we're up to, and I think Bianca and Liz can back me up on, we're somewhere around a 27% margin. And that's been a lot of work, and it's a lot of work by the people that are on the screen here to get people registered to vote so that we can contact them, so we can get them literature, so that we can phone call them, all that sort of thing. But I'll tell you the story that I've said many times, and that is 2010, Ward 3, Precinct 1, Northfield. On the 7 a.m. list that the judges got that morning, there were 1,521 people that were on that list. And the number of people that showed up to vote from that 1,521 was 37. That's all. 37 people came after 1,521 people were registered. But the good news is there were 426 that did same day registration. And so David Bly lost that year, and he got just an overwhelming 79% of the votes in that precinct, but he lost the district, his district, the House district. And if 50 people would have been rolled out of bed at St. Olaf College and went to the polls, he would have won at a 79% voting rate. Now, we can argue about that wherever, but that was one thing that just made my hair stand on end when I found out all those numbers. And if you look around in 2010, the colleges did not have a good maintenance of their voter file. And we lost a tremendous number of good people. We lost the senator from Winona. We lost, actually, I don't know if he would have won or not, but we lost Jim Oberstar, where he was getting lots of votes from Duluth. We had a problem in St. Cloud. All of those colleges, we did not get in there and get those people registered when they showed up. 20 days after they moved, they can be registered and they can vote. And we don't do that. And that's a problem. And that's what we need to do. Now, what our people do here, and I've said this from year one, that we need to go to every door. And we have done that a lot. We don't need to go to every door to remind them to get out and vote, but we do need to go every door to find out if people are registered to vote, find out if there is a voter behind a door that we don't have in our van. So those things are extremely important to me. And that's how we worked hard here, and we managed to get that 27% margin. And that's because there's a lot of people that really want to talk to us, and they may not know, they may be new in the district. They may have moved into the district. They just may have moved into Minnesota, and we haven't discovered them yet. So we need to go to every door sometime before the election so that we can get everybody in the van, get their phone numbers in there, get their emails in there, get every way to contact and get their local news. So, and I want to say one other thing is I've talked to oh gosh, all of a sudden you can quote his name faster than me, but the new candidate that we have in the Northfield area, is he Joe? I can't recall now, but I have a piece of paper that is from this type of analysis that I've done, and found that in and I don't remember which election it was now, 72% of the students in a precinct up there that I think is either St. Ben's or St. John's, 72% registered same day. Now that's 72% of the people that did vote did not get a phone call at their location, did not get a piece of literature at their location, because they may have been different places in Minnesota, or they may have even been outside of Minnesota, because college students can vote in their district. So these are things that I think we need to pay a lot of attention to, because we're not getting to everyone. And there's a lot of Republicans out there that are waiting for a Democrat to have a conversation with them. And we need to identify them as much as possible. And I personally have had a very great success in turning people over. And that's, we don't have a big turnout in turnover in Eagan. And I'll tell you just another little anecdote, and that is that Tim McClenty is my constituent. He lives in I'm not sure which precinct he is now. He was 17. They were always the first ones to turn in their voter results on election night. And of course, they always voted Republican until recently. They have now flipped over. And this is not a typical precinct. This is one that there's not any multiple housing. There's no apartment buildings. It's a lot of people that have been there for a while and don't move. So I think we can make a big improvement by getting to these people and getting them registered.
Yeah, let's hear from Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Senator, and I commend you and everybody on this call for working overtime to increase the margin here in Senate District 52. It's a great success story, and I just will say that our commitment to organizing boots on the ground in 2025 is real. The 10 organizers we have deployed throughout the state are working closely with Senate District leadership to make sure that we're doing door knocking already, where we're going to doors where we don't have any information on the voters, to make sure that we're having those conversations about the issues and priorities that are most important to them. As we've been saying to people, every single time you go to a door, it is a listening session. You're there to listen to the voter, to understand and learn what priorities are most important to them. And only after you listen and learn can you ultimately ask them for their confidence in you to lead into the future. And so that is a priority for us. I will say, in addition, Senator, rather than contacting college students and connecting with leadership on campus in the fall of 26, as we typically do as a party, we are actually working and planning to connect with them in the fall of 25, so that we understand who is the leader in 25, 26, and then coming into the summer of 26, we'll actually have an understanding of who the leaders are on those college campuses in the spring of 26 for the fall, so that when they get back on campus, we don't have to start building a relationship with weeks to go before the election, but instead that relationship will have been established. And I think that will give us an opportunity on college campuses in the fall of 2026 that we haven't had in the last few election cycles. In addition to that, making sure that our high school Democrats, our Minnesota Young DFL, and our college Democrats are all working together to make sure that we are communicating from the time they're in high school to the time they're active in college is going to be really important in terms of us building capacity on campuses, not only in 26, but also in 28 when we have that presidential election.
Sarah asks a question about social media and podcasts and what we're doing. Let me just first explain that in our district, and Sarah, I can't remember whether you're in SD52 or not, but we're very active on Facebook. We use Mobilize. We have a van email address, and we have our own email address for you're in 46B. Okay, so you got to tell your people in 46 what we're doing down here, and we'd be happy to share. We're not very active on Instagram, and we're still trying to figure out TikTok and how we can message on that. Our communications officer, Chris Whitfield, was on before. I'm not sure if he's still on, but those are some of the things that we're doing in 52. We're not active in podcasts, unless you want to consider this morning a podcast. We've had what, 25 or so people on this morning. That's a good start. I don't know that we get a lot of views of this after we record it, but those are some of the things that we're doing. Richard, why don't you expand upon that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first and foremost, you should all know that when I got elected, we had a 2-person communications department. We're expanding that to a 4-person communications department. And so we're going to have a creative specialist, a social media organizer manager. We're going to have a communications director and a press person. And so we're going to have those 4 positions here fully, I think, staffed up in the next several weeks. What our plan is and what we've been building are kind of on 3 fronts. First and foremost, as I mentioned earlier, we are strategically connecting with content creators throughout the state so that by the end of this calendar year, no matter where you're at in Minnesota, we'll be able to tell you who are the content creators in that community. And so if you can imagine somebody like Senator Klobuchar says, I'm going to go to St. Cloud for a visit. Who are the content creators? We want to be able to say, Senator Klobuchar, here are the 6 content creators in the St. Cloud area that you might want to connect with in order to make sure that you get in front of their audience. I'm going to give you 3 numbers, and this is why it's so important. First number, 1 million. 1 million is the number of people who watch MSNBC between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. nightly. 1 million people. How many of those people are under the age of 50? 94,000. That's it. 1 million people on MSNBC nightly. 2.5 to 3 million are on the Washington Post properties in a day. 18 million is the number of people one content creator has access to each and every day, every time they post something. 18 million people. We as a party have to get our act together and connect with those content creators, no matter if they have 10,000 people on their list, or like we're doing at the state fair, we're bringing in people who have 2-3 million people following them on their platforms. So first and foremost, create that relationship with content creators who are sympathetic to our cause and who want to help us get in front of their audience. Number 2, we're going to build out, and we're actively working on the structure of this, of building out a cohort for every social media platform. So if you can imagine, we're going to ask every Senate district to identify who are the 2 people or 3 people from your Senate district who will be the Facebook captain, who is the Instagram captain, who is the TikTok captain. And then we're going to create a cohort with folks from all over the state so that each and every day we can provide content proactively that we feel like is going to be able to be picked up and catch traction to those specific social media platforms. What you post on Blue Sky doesn't necessarily generate the same kind of traction on Facebook. And so we have to actually make sure that the content we are providing is content that can gain traction on those various platforms. And once we build out these cohorts, you can imagine having hundreds of people understanding what we need to be posting on Blue Sky every day is going to be really, really impactful. The last thing I'll say is that we, along with the daily call, we have continued to think and innovate on who else needs to be bringing forth our message each and every day. Our daily call usually has me hosting and providing the message, the action, and the tool of the day. That's great for party insiders who are really deeply invested and want to be helpful. That's not necessarily a great way for us to connect with voters who are, 17 to 30. Right? They don't need to see my mug telling them what the message of the day is. We need to make sure that we're elevating and giving people the platform so that folks who they connect with, they hear from most. And so we're working on building out that element as well into the future so that we're making sure that, farmers are hearing from farmers and young people are hearing from young people. And that therefore the diversity of our messenger connects better with the audience we need to reach.
I saw that Ari put a question in the chat. I'm not sure if I'll rephrase it properly, but he wants an example of a working class policy that you're promoting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ari, for putting that in the chat. First and foremost, we need to start by talking about what Democrats have delivered. We have delivered universal school meals, the child tax credit, and as I said, I think one of the most important investments was $3.5 billion into the rainy day fund. A lot of folks would accuse the Democrats of having a surplus and turning it into a deficit, and that's just not true. We don't have a deficit into the future, and it's going to be something I think that our legislative candidates are really going to need to stand strong on. The investments we made in 23 and the investments that we protected in 25 are deeply meaningful to working class families. Moving into the future, I think that our candidates and our party leaders need to articulate exactly how they're going to make life more affordable when it comes to reducing costs in terms of housing. You know, Tasha brought up a great point earlier about the role of private equity in driving up prices for housing. But across the board, no matter what demographic you fall into, whether you're a young person, you're a working family with small kids, or you're a retired person, I hear from everyone about the cost of rent, the cost of mortgage, the cost of housing is out of control. And we need to articulate how, as Democrats, we're going to take that head on. I think in addition to that, the cost of childcare and the cost of healthcare are two other points that we need to drive home as much as we can. We have to bring forth policies and ideas that will actually reduce the cost and help the affordability for working families.
We are just about out of time. I see John Haynes has another question, and then I've got one to close and take us out. So, John, if you still have a question, turn your mic back on and fire away. I see you're still muted. All right, then let me ask my closing question. It's well, it goes like this. It's really two parts. I think most of the people on this call, at least the ones that I talked to.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are, John. Okay, go ahead.
And Senator Carlson, I hope you're still on.
He's
The
not.
housing issue. And okay, guys, we need real plans that people can see and feel. So, for example, Walz-Harris campaign, how to control housing. Anybody that pays a mortgage pays the insurance industry. Now, I did a report across the river with Jennifer Schilling that was so persuasive that it actually caused Senator Johnson to cast the deciding vote on the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. What we discovered in that report was the insurance industries were showing a 21% administrative cost. Okay, now us senior citizens are literally getting priced out of the houses we've already paid for by the insurance industry. So I would highly encourage Mr. Carlson to work with me to develop a report, and it's pretty easy to generate, that would nail the insurance companies and show the voters what we're trying to do to control housing, a real life thing that they see every day. They write checks for it. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Senator, but think it over.
I'd like to hear more.
I'll try to get a hold of you, and I'll show you exactly what I did with Schilling. But I mean, literally, the way the Minnesota State Code reads is that the insurance companies are allowed an 8% profit plus administrative costs. So, boom, there's the slip up. This law needs to be changed to state that the insurance company is allowed X cost. We decide. They don't decide what reasonable expense is. Hear what I'm saying? And that's a real thing. That boom, you just picked up the senior voters big league on that one. And anybody trying to buy a home knows damn well that's part of their monthly payment. So,
all right, John.
I'll send Richard a
yeah, Senator Carlson just put his email in the chat, so you can contact him directly. Let me close out with this this question. It's something that I hear from people regularly, Richard, and that is, what can I do today? I want to do something today. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I want to do something today. And as part of that, a lot of what we've talked about, if not almost everything we've talked about today has focused on the 26 election. But there's a lot of time between now and then, and there's a lot of damage that the Republicans can do between now and then. Not only what can I do today, but what can I do to prevent damage until the 26th election?
Got it. Thank you, Ron. First and foremost, keep showing up. I have to say this. At the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, he had a net positive approval rating, and the policies he were pushing had broad support among independents. Today, every single one of his signature issues, economic issues, is underwater with every single demographic that it's tested with. That has not happened since. That is because Democrats have been organizing since day one of this person's presidency, and we have been showing up at rallies on street corners, over bridge decks. We have been showing up in community to make sure that we're elevating the dangers of this president's policies, and we have to continue doing that. So first and foremost, show up. Where do you show up? Here's a couple ideas. I'll be in SC55 tonight this afternoon for the wine and cheese fundraiser. Go to a local fundraiser, show up with your local Senate district, and be active. You're here this morning. Thank you for being here. You can continue to show up in different spaces and places. We have 2 special elections coming up. In Senate District 47 up in Woodbury, and up in Wright County in SD 29. We have 2 special elections coming up. We are door knocking already, boots on the ground in those districts, to make sure that we're going door to door to listen to voters, learn from their perspectives, so that we ultimately can ask them to vote for our candidates in those special elections coming up in November. So make sure that you get involved with one of those special elections. That is something you can do now. You don't have to wait until 2026. You actually can get involved now. It's so important. Find the place to show up. I'm about to leave here to go meet with a group of Democrats in Northeast Minneapolis, Black leaders who want to see that party more active. From there, I'm going to go meet with folks in the southern part of the metro, and then ultimately I'll be in Savage for the ST55 event this afternoon. Tomorrow, I'll be at a picnic in the afternoon in Bloomington, and in the morning, I'll be meeting with leaders here in Minneapolis who, again, want to see more action out of the Somali American community. So continue showing up each and every day. I encourage you to. It's so important. We all need to be present.
And in our SD52 district, every Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 in the afternoon, we have a sign brigade on the corner of Pilot Knob and Yankee Doodle. It's small, but it's growing. And if you want to join us, that'd be great. Bring a sign, bring a flag. 4:30 in the afternoon on the corner where the Minnesota Valley Transportation parking ramp is. I'd like to see us get 30 to 50 people this coming Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's one place where we are showing up, Richard. And
that's awesome.
This district shows up in a lot of different ways. Thank you so much for making yourself available this morning. I'm glad we hurdled the technical issues at the very beginning. Lynn Carlson notes, watch out for the school board elections this fall. That's an election that's happening this year, not next year. And those school board elections are really important. Richard, any final thoughts from you?
Nope. I just really appreciate everybody's time and attention. Have a great Saturday, everybody, and I hope to see you out in the real world soon at one of these rallies or events coming up.
And
thanks,
Curtis,
everybody.
Curtis, our chair, do you have any final